Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of July 16, 2018 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the Township Clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at Mayor and Council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Please rise for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno. Councilman Cassio.
Here.
Councilman Cumming. Councilman Ullman.
Here.
Council President DeSena.
Here. Approval of minutes, regular public meeting minutes of March 19, 2018, April 2nd, 2018, April 9th, 2018, April 16, 2018, and conference portion meeting minutes of March 19th and April 16th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Do I have a motion to open the meeting to public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. If anybody would like to come up and address the council at this time, please do so. Mrs. Grimaldi.
Diane Grimaldi, 441 Van Emberg Avenue. At the last meeting, Mr. Pollard said that the Viviano property application is back in front of the planning board.
Well, it's been filed with the planning board. I don't think it's been scheduled yet.
Okay, well, it's coming in front of the planning board again.
Right.
And new plans or new sets of plans have come to the Planning and Zoning Board office, I know. Before the application is heard, are they going to have to advertise?
Well, there's going to be an advertisement for a public hearing for sure. I don't know what meeting that's going to be. I don't know whether they're going to have a preliminary meeting where they just go before the planning board just to introduce what they're doing and then advertise. They're going to have to advertise at some point in time and have a public hearing, yes. Probably, I mean, from my way of thinking, the first meeting would be the best, that kind of a thing.
Which after 14 years, the resolution is 14 years old.
I don't run the planning board.
I know,
you know
but
that?
the planning board runs the planning board.
Yeah, the planning board runs the planning board, yes. Yeah. So the bottom line is that having dealt with the engineer and so forth, although I know there's no secretary yet, or maybe there is, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're going to be advertising, and I mean, they're certainly conducting public hearings.
Mr. Mayor, can you please ask the planning board to ask the Vivianos to notify them the first meeting so the public is aware that they're coming to the meeting?
Will do.
Is that something you can do?
Sure thing.
Will that answer your question, Mrs. Grimaldi?
It will. I mean, what I'd love to see is also a notice sent out to people within the 200 feet, because there are a lot of new owners of the houses on Katharina Place, I know, that know, you know, they may know something about it through their real estate agent, but don't know the magnitude. So, yeah, I just wanted to clear that up and make sure that...
The advertising, I'll make sure of the 200 feet. I don't know if we can force them at this point, but I'll suggest they do it.
My other question...
Hold on a second,
Diane,
Mrs.
hold on
Grimaldi.
1 second, I'm sorry. I just froze up all around.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm sorry.
I won't dock your time, I promise.
That's okay. I'm not going to take my whole 5 minutes.
Didn't touch anything. Certainly are enough wires though.
Recording everything. Yeah, the power's going up and surged, so.
Nope. I know.
Due to technical difficulties, we have to cancel our meeting tonight.
It's locked.
So is it just the audio or is it?
No,
just
everything.
Everything?
Her cursor, she has no cursor, nothing, she has to reboot.
I
can't even reboot it.
That's what that means.
Thing.
The summer,
I'm
we have
sorry.
one meeting in July and one meeting in August.
Try to tell us something here.
See what happens when you talk about Fight Club?
I know, seriously.
I'm not going. I don't care. I don't think so.
See if the power goes up.
So I just schedule full, schedule every Monday and
Okay,
just race
great.
them as they're not, as we don't have.
Unplug and replug everything. Yeah, good.
Yes.
I didn't want my 15 minutes of fame this
Okay, yeah. Okay. Plays into my, yeah, okay, good. What is it? The window closes, the door opens.
It's stinking.
Yeah.
Another one door closes,
Yeah.
another one.
You have to go old school.
Yeah, no, I can tell what it is, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we got a light now.
Okay.
Eats a little much.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, was it factoring in or not? Yeah, but yeah, I asked her.
You know, that little thing on trying to get, please stand by.
Show us something.
Your hard drive.
Yeah,
Yes.
we had the flag and some jets going by and
Oh, okay.
it was snowing till like 6 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
you can't stand it, it's horrible.
I explained where
Of course, now you have to-
Yeah.
I haven't had a
Right,
chance to
okay.
get it.
I've got 47 streaming things.
I just can't find something.
Yeah.
No one's not in it yet.
Yeah.
Goliath.
Right there, yeah, it's not, I'm getting pictures, so give me a couple more minutes.
Is that Weston?
No. He's a lawyer, lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know, with this heat, you would think maybe the AC was draining,
Yeah.
there was a surge, but there was nothing. The lights didn't flicker or anything.
Weird.
Yeah,
It's coming back,
good,
thank goodness.
because otherwise I'd go to the server.
Yeah.
And don't you know, I stay here like, looking for my phone, charging my kitchen. It's fine, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
My husband's daughter, or somebody, my son's at home, so.
Okay.
It's like,
No one's looking for it.
press and it's just.
That's a good thing.
Although I will say,
Get my,
I didn't see it.
it's really not, I call him an attorney candidate. I think he's an attorney candidate.
I think he just, does to get a rise out of it.
No, but this, one thing I do at home, another thing I do at home.
It's not your fault. Yeah, you don't, you're not spinning the wheels on the machine.
the masses.
Okay.
Can I do anything to
We
help?
always have the audio
What's
from the
that?
Is it
video,
a hi-fi
right?
kind of a thing? Can
No surprise.
I do anything old-fashioned to help?
She's coming back.
It's coming back up. It's
I
coming
was
back
gonna say,
up.
we always have the audio from the
Michael.
video.
Yeah, that's fine, and I didn't get to do
Okay,
anything
that's fine.
in your absence.
Unless somebody asks.
Yeah.
It's moving, so I don't know where she left off.
All right. You ready?
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Grimaldi, for your patience.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Was she at 15 minutes then?
No, she's not at 15 minutes. She's on her first minute of her 5.
You said that before.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay, my next question is about the grant money for the basketball field at Memorial School. Is that still in play? Is that still money that we have, and are we doing something with it?
Yes. Would you like me to answer?
Go ahead, Mrs. Grimaldi.
Okay. We received an extension from the county to spend it through, I believe, the end of October, and it is on Mr. Azzalina's to-do list to draft the specs and get it done.
And it's
But
going to be used for Memorial Field, we haven't replaced it with some other project?
we're not allowed to just move the money around, no. It's for, there's 2 basketball projects that are going to be done. One is at Memorial and one is at Gardner. And the idea was being bid both at the same time because you need the same things, you get economies of scale. Okay?
Okay. And my last question is about the extra commuter parking. I know there was supposed to be an update, and I might have missed it. I haven't been to some meetings.
It's at TD Bank.
It is.
Yes.
We have commuter parking at TD Bank?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it was notified to the permit holders, yes.
Okay, great. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimaldi. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Please state your name and your address, please.
Eric Kopp, 515 Washington Avenue. Can everyone hear me? Fine.
Yes.
So I just wanted to speak about the resolution you guys passed on the vape shop on July 2nd, I believe. While I agree with banning the vape shop, one part that troubled me was also the banning of the sale of medical marijuana. Just because with that specifically, I know that helps a lot of people with pain and pain management, and it's a lot better sometimes than taking opioids because the risk for getting addicted to it is so much lower. So I want to ask the council, had you previously thought about that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and why was it not included in part of, as an exception?
Having family members who, because of their cancer treatments, frequent medical marijuana shops in large urban cities, and have no issues with doing that, there is no need for a medical marijuana shop in the Township of Washington.
But why even not let
We
it
do
have
not
a
need
shop?
the council made a decision that we felt that it was not in anybody's best interest to have a legal medical marijuana dispensary with an armed guard standing at the door to prohibit you from entering the building without a medical marijuana card in our little strip mall or in any of our commercial space in Washington Township.
Is there a law requiring us to have an armed guard?
Yes, if you read the state statutes, that's how it works. You cannot even bring an ill patient through the door without a medical marijuana card. So there's a lot more information. If you'd like to discuss it after the meeting, I'd be more than welcome to discuss all of it with you. I think the council, we made a decision, and that's where it is.
I would just say,
did not support that decision.
I would just say that the majority of the council voted in that manner, not all of the council.
Okay. Just the second point, I want to talk about police dispatching for a little bit. I'm an intern with the county government, and they took all of the interns on a tour of the Pisauk and Mawa, where they do the dispatching out of. And to be honest, before that, I really didn't know too much about dispatching. And actually seeing it work and how much money they put into the actual dispatching program. The county recently made a $1.2 million improvement to the technology and the computers up there. So I want to know, the council is planning to have a shared service with the county, or if you've already looked into it, why you've not already moved on to actually enter into that shared service.
Well, we've looked at numerous options. The county was one of them. About 3-4 years ago, a couple of councilmen and myself went up to the Mahwah Dispatch Center. It is state-of-the-art. We were going to get a pretty good deal, but it was felt that the residents and the prior mayor did not want to make the move to Mahwah or join another municipality to share that dispatching service. Again, we talk about economies of scale. Personally, I think we get a very, very good deal with them, but there are some quirks. A lot of towns use them as their primary dispatch, and a lot of towns like to keep it in-house. The Township of Washington this time likes to keep it in-house.
That being said, the county, they mentioned that currently about, I believe the number is 15. It might be, it ranges up to 18,
That's
I'm not
about
exactly
right.
sure. That's the amount of towns that are sharing that service with the county right now. And at the current capacity, they could hold up to 40, but they're building a new facility in Paramus that can, I think they said that could handle about 60 towns. Not the largest 3 or 4, but they would never enter into that agreement because they have so much activity to begin with. But what it seemed like to me, it just basically, the safety of the citizens would not be affected by having a dispatch center at Mahwah, and it would save the taxpayers some money. So is there any plans to look into it now or no?
We have currently budgeted to hire more dispatchers full-time in town.
Okay.
There's a couple of issues, I think. One is home rule. Some residents, some members of the administration, some members of the police, the fire department, the ambulance, they feel that the residents are best served by having a dispatcher here on Hudson Avenue, and they feel that that's the most efficient way, that these are local individuals, they serve just Washington Township, and they give the best service. You know, you're certainly correct, there are economies of scale. Former council member Durso was a big proponent of merging, moving either to the county, and when that proved to be something that wasn't palatable, looked at moving to Westwood, and again that was deemed not to be palatable to members of the emergency services and certain members of public. So I agree, I believe there are savings out there. I think that, you know, the issue of home rule and having all redundant, multiple layers of infrastructure in every town and at the county is a drain on taxpayer resources, but there are voices that carry more weight, and I think that's where we are now.
Can I ask?
I think your statement speaks a million words. There are 70 municipalities in Bergen County, and only 14 have joined.
But more are planning already.
That, until it happens, the county dispatch has been running for umpteen years, and they're only up to 14 after 14 years. So that is an issue, because if it was so glorious, like you're saying, then by now in 14 or 15 years that county dispatch has been operating, I would think all 70 municipalities would have been there.
Well,
that's my
point,
personal thought.
What is mentioned was that they are pushing for towns to join this agreement. Like what Councilman Ullman said, that home rule, a lot of towns are scared to give up that power because they thought they'd be less safe.
Absolutely.
But even during Hurricane Sandy, dispatching calls were being answered in Iowa, and they were still handled here in the States. So I don't see the problem.
But dispatching calls were being
answered in Iowa.
Township also.
But when all the lines were, if they go all the way to Iowa.
Yeah, we brought in extra dispatchers for that. We were able
I'm not saying that calls weren't answered in Township, but since there was such a high demand during Sandy, that a lot of these calls in New Jersey were pushed to Iowa, and they were still handled properly. So if they can be answered in Iowa properly and be safe, why are we so hesitant to have it in Mahwah and save the taxpayers money?
That the decision was made to hire more dispatchers full-time in this budget unanimously by this council and the mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, Mike, to just follow up, I think even 1 or 2 towns went up to the county and withdrew also. I don't know the reasons or anything, but a couple that were up there withdrew. I'll leave it at that because I don't know the reasons.
Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Mrs. Plentimore?
Tony Plantamura, 808 Robinwood Road. I just have questions on the update of the committee and the subcommittee on Memorial Field. You had told me you were going to get back to me in reference to how your field committee is going to report to our field committee. So I haven't heard anything since we've been basically disbanded since you became mayor. So I'm trying to get a follow-up on how our information feeds into your group.
Let me say, I will get the committee an update as to what we've done short-term to get the field in as playable condition as possible. Long-term, there is no plan just yet. I mean, the plan is that we're going to do a study. We're going to put out an RFQ, RFP, whatever is needed for something similar to the MKW study that was done to look at all of our fields, all of our usage, and for them to make recommendations as an independent third party.
Okay, I understand too Mr. Cumming is a horticulturist, has a degree. Is that true?
That's true.
How does that qualify you on this committee? I understand that you're being utilized. Part of your degree is to be one of the go-to people to ask on recommendations. What projects have you worked on prior to this? I was just wondering, is there any other projects you worked on that you gave input into something of this magnitude on the field, or rehabbing of the field?
When I was working with the county of Bergen, among other things, I managed over 200 buildings and grounds, pump shacks to major buildings like One Bergen County Plaza. Handled the sprinkler systems and handled the landscaping and bid them out. And I have an AAS degree in horticulture.
Okay, I'm just trying to.
I'm not sure we've set up. I'm sorry. I apologize to you. I'm not sure how we've set up any kind of hierarchy of reporting. Mr. Mayor, I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to understand how the people on our committee, none of the information we gathered over about a year and a half was utilized. Because I think that you owe...
I think that's an unfair statement, Mrs. Plentimore. Mr. Cumming has set up a fertilization program that, from Friday night's event, is working. He has reprogrammed the sprinkler with the new contractor to irrigate the field properly, so it's receiving the water it deserves. If I'm speaking out of turn, Mr. Cumming.
No, please, you're doing fine. Thank you.
He's pushed to have it aerated, which it will be aerated and overseeded soon, which are all recommendations I've seen in his reports.
Yep.
So other than that, that's where it stopped, and it will continue to be, fertilized correctly by a professional company. We hired an outside company. An aeration company will come in and do the aeration. The sprinkler is working, functioning properly as it should be. There's no zones out.
All proper turf care is being done.
And we have a turf management company that is on board to help to assist Mr. Cumming also.
I just can't fathom why all of our recommendations weren't acted upon prior to this.
I would just like to know which recommendations so we can put it on record, which ones.
All the information that Cynthia Cannon that had gathered to
I know I've reviewed it all. I can't speak for Mr. Cumming.
Haven't seen it, I'm sorry.
Can we, Mr. Mayor, can we get Mr. Cumming a copy of that report?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And is there any way that's going to change, or has there any thought been given to how this field is going to be rested now?
No. If anything, we're generating more use for the field, not less. But in spite of that, We're doing the best we can, that was just previously said, to make the field playable and available to as many people and organizations that choose to use it.
So you don't have any long-term plans yet?
The long-term plan, like I said, is to get someone to study all of our fields and all the usage and see if they can map something out to say, all right, try and gear this activity to this field, practices, etc. And that will be done by a third party.
Who's that third party?
We will put out an RFQ or P for it to get a, like an MKW study to do that.
So that'll be another study that'll be paid for by the township?
Correct.
An updated one?
An updated one, did you say? Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to go?
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle. One of the follow-ups from the last meeting was on Woodfield Road.
Yes.
I'm usually walking down there or biking down there, and there's the tree situation that still exists and the sidewalk that exists by the library, which you could easily fall, which I tripped, but I'm here, okay, because I was thinking something else.
We did put cones up to protect.
I know you did, but there's no excuse not to take care of a major issue on Woodfield Road for any of the residents that walk around there. We all use the lake. I live over in Washington Commons. I'm always over there, okay? Why can't we get this done?
Director Scuderi and I had a meeting with Acting Superintendent Lawler on Friday to cover a lot of things, of which this was, I'll say, the top 2 or 3, and he owes me and Dan a report by like Wednesday of this week on the trees, the sidewalk, and the fence as to, and a timetable to deal with them.
Yeah, because someone...
Mr. Schneid, you are absolutely correct, and if you've watched the videos, I've asked the mayor.
I know you have. I'm bringing it up.
For months on end about this, and
it's not right.
It drives me crazy every time I walk by with my either dog or I drive from Food Town, and I see that sidewalk and I see those trees and I see the fence that's been like that since January when I got put on this dais. It is disgusting, and we need to change our habits.
Well, we got to have someone be able to make a decision, and all it takes is a decision, and then you issue what you have to do. Correct. And I've lived in the town for close to 18 years, and we go through these things, and there's no excuse. And Mr. Mayor, you're in here. You're going to make things different. Mm-hmm. There's no excuse for that not to happen, and have been done already. That's all I'm telling you.
Thank you.
And just let's get it done. The home rule on the dispatch, I'm very in favor of. I think one of the, most of you know I'm a realtor in town. And one of the good things about coming into a town, call it the home rule, as Mr. Ullman said, that we have our own dispatch. And we have the people taking care of the residents here. You make a phone call, 30 seconds, they're at the place. And that's a good thing. Maybe it goes unnoticed, and I understand the county wants to help out everything to make, an easier pot to be able to get to. But the truth is, this is one of the nice things, I think, of our town. Shared services, I'm not against. I'm not against buying asphalt. I'm not against gasoline or anything else. But the health and welfare, I think, is very important. And that's something that I hope we will continue to do. We could look at other things to save money, okay? And I'm hoping, we're a long way from the roads being completed. I don't know what's going on there, and maybe there could be a little escalation on that, Mr. Mayor?
When you say complete,
the roads meaning
this year's program or in general?
Well,
we're going
to combine it.
We're going to pass a resolution tonight, Mr. Schneid, for the repaving of streets in 2018.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, I plan to propose next year, put in next year's budget, that we increase what we're spending.
We got to.
The roads need more repair than was anticipated, and so we're not able to do as much with the same amount of money we spent 5 years ago when I started on the council. So I think we need to put more money into next year's budget to do more roads and repairs.
Yeah, and I guess the county's not going to take care of Washington Ave until when? I mean, you go through the firehouse there, even though it's a county.
The ADA ramps have to be done first, Mr. Schneider.
I know, but that's not hard to do.
The purchase order.
Am I wrong? Those aren't hard to do from what I've been told.
But we have to use the county contractor, and we're on their list to get it done.
Yeah.
Correct, Mrs. Grimm?
Yes, the purchase order was issued a while ago, and we're waiting. We haven't heard it. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if Mr. Asalina has.
How long ago was it issued? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4
believe
months?
Less than a month ago.
Okay.
If
Maybe
my
we
memory-
can,
If my memory serves me correct.
no, maybe the mayor can get on. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the politics of this. All I'm saying to you is, someone's going to get hurt. And I know when we take our bicycles along the road there, Pascack Road, and go down on Washington Ave, you got deep pockets down there that you can trip over, and someone's going to get hurt, and maybe someone's going to get killed. No different.
Well, the
than-
potholes have been filled in by the county.
I know, but it's still rough going there.
I know, but they're not deep holes.
Okay, okay, let me say there's crevices.
Yes.
Okay, we'll use that word. The other thing is, we had talked about bike lanes here. Many years I've talked about bike lanes, because you see how many people come by here on Pascack Road. And it had to go through the county. And one of the previous people in Trenton, who's not here anymore, who used to be on our council, he's away for a while, was going to try and get the county to put some lines on here to say bike lane, you know, just to have something that can steer the person along the road, or have someone acknowledge that there might be a bike person bicycling, because they're all biking there. On the weekends, you take a look, even during the night. No different than I said about the signs that...
You have 1 minute.
Okay, that the signs that we were going to do, I think they're on their way.
I have a meeting later this week to decide how many we need of each, where we're placing them, and then they'll be ordered right after. But to get back to the bike lanes, that is something that the Green Team has taken under its belt and have reached out to the county again just very recently to get reestablished.
Yeah, but I mean, because those, just from the mall coming up, I mean, from Picard Grill would be great, but just from the mall coming up to Washington Ave, if we could just get something that could help, it would be tremendous. And the new signs for the town, where are we on that?
The bigger signs?
Yeah, the bigger signs.
Again, we'll cover that in the, we put a lot of money in the sign budget, so I want to make sure we do all of them properly, and so I'm having a meeting with a few departments later in the week to make sure we try and cover as many bases as we can with the money allocated.
Okay. And I want to mention, the mall looks terrific when you talk to the owner. I mean, if you take a look at the plantings and everything, I think it's getting to look first class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our
They'll be happy to hear that people notice.
Okay, thanks.
Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time?
This man's really
Who's that?
this young man over here in the green.
He raises his hand.
He phrases every time. You just don't see him. We get him next.
Did I jump the gun?
No, you're good. You're good.
Cynthia Cannon, 804 Manhattan Avenue. In response to the questions that they were asking before, Mr. Cumming, about the grass expert was part of the questions that I think that that Tony Rossi Plantamora was trying to express. One of the things that we had asked as a committee way back when I first joined it in July, the committee was established last May, a year ago May. And from the very beginning, my understanding was everyone kept saying grass expert. And so I had contacted Rutgers University and their school, because they were building at that point another 2 huge artificial fields, natural grass fields. And they referred me to 5 other people, landscaping companies, grass experts, gave me all these different names, which I passed along. The mayor received a copy of my emails that I had sent. I will be happy to forward them to you too if you would like to see them. I understand that you had contacted the Rutgers Extension Cooperative, which is where you got your soil analysis done, which is great. I'm glad, because what I understand was it had not been done for more than 3 years.
8.
At that point. Yeah, I know.
I'm told
The
8.
lady told me.
I don't know.
The lady told me at the Rutgers Extension Service, she goes, I think it's a little bit more than 3.
Yeah.
And I said, could it be 5? She goes, keep going higher. In respect to what we've always been told before was you have to rest the field. Everybody's always saying, rest the field, rest the field. I'm glad to hear about our concert series. People are very happy with it. It's a great community effort. Everyone seems to be really happy with it. However, when you put another 1,000 to 2,000 people on a field after, and for an event, times 4 plus Town Day, I can imagine what the football people are going to say come November about the condition of the field at that point, only because of overuse. And I would hope that in long-term plans that we were talking about, the MKW report, was that they will eventually look to see about dispersing the fields, better usage of the fields so that they just don't tear up one field in particular. My other question was, because I missed the meeting that you're talking about the ambulance corps moving, and I didn't catch the whole thing on TV. They're going to be moving from this site and going over to the firehouse?
Mr. Mayor?
Is that correct?
Let me say it was correct at the last meeting. They have asked me to ignore the letter they gave me because they want to continue the discussions on it. So it was a go, and then I got word from them, please hold off on it. They want a little more time to discuss it internally.
As I sit in traffic going west on Washington Avenue, 5:20, 5:15, you can't get, I stop because the law says you can't go through the hatch marks. People literally go around me, get in front of me, and look at me like, oh, you're broken down. Okay, well, that's okay. We're just going to leave you there. I really have I'm just saying my opinion, is that I really am worried very much about the fact that if our ambulance corps is located there, in addition to our other first responders, how are they going to get into that area with, number one, their cars, because, they're all coming from their homes to be able to take the rig out, but also getting the rig out. When I watched them one night with the fire department, they have to get out in the street to tell people to move out of the way. The sirens are already going, the lights are on, nobody's doing anything except watching and going, well, I don't need to move, you should move, I don't want to move. But the other thing too is that on the corner at the Exxon station, where it says no left-hand turn, because you're going to pass over 2 lanes of traffic that are going west, plus you've got the lane of traffic going east. Why is it that people keep making left-hand turns there and don't suffer the consequences? No one's gotten into an accident from what I understand. But it's one of these. You keep your eyes closed because I see this every day practically. I would like to see more enforcement of that rule. There are a lot of signage there. I know that you put lots of signs up.
I'll mention it to the chief.
Thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for your work on the project, Mr. Cumming. I know that you have that horticultural degree, and that's a very big plus.
And experience.
And experience. And I just hope that the grass will stay green and intact for a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just respond very briefly and nicely? I'm doing my best to do what I can to grow some grass and keep the field covered. We've run into some pitfalls and snags. Some of them non-performance issues, some of them they don't come when they promise issues. Everybody's heard those stories about contractors. In school, I only got 2 B pluses in 5 years. It took me 5-6 years to get a 2-year degree. That's a joke.
That's because you went on Saturday.
And I got 2 B pluses only the year that my father died, in 2006. So that affected my grades. The rest were straight A's. I'm going to grow grass if I can. And Mr. Hansen put it in an email that the field is used because the field needs to be used.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
If every day I can get a break and maybe some God-given rain, in addition to sprinklers, which do a good job, and they're fixed, then we try very hard to work with our beautiful plants, and with the Lord's help, we'll get some more decent weather and not too much more hot, dry weather. And maybe we'll have some nice grass for the football people. I really hope so.
That's really important. Because
And I'm not aware of anything not being done. There are some things I would like to get done too. If we can get some people moving, get some work done. It looks pretty good. 3 years when I was up there for Town Day, it looked like we were filming Lawrence of Arabia. It was pretty bad, pretty dusty.
That's also the time of the year, too. Unfortunately, after we start, again, in the summertime, when they start to use the field much more often, you know, when the bigger teams are coming through, football, lacrosse, then you tend to chew up the grass a little bit more. And also, it's our most arid time of the year, too. And I think that since the sprinkler systems were fixed, that's a very big plus.
Yes.
You know, those are the things that you really have to keep in mind.
Because it was a
So I
dust
wish you
bowl.
well, good luck, and I hope that it stays because I want grass.
Thank you for your good wishes. You know more than I. Thank you so much.
Mr. DeSena, if you don't mind.
Sure, Mr.
I have to say, Friday night at the concert, that field looked fantastic. It was really, really nice. It looked like carpeting. I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it.
Thank you for noticing.
The other councilmen saw the same thing. I think the mayor saw it. It really looked great. So I want to thank you, Art, for all your hard work and doing what you do.
Thank you for noticing, and
We all
I
noticed.
really appreciate it.
You can come to my house and do my lawn anytime. No
Good
problem.
evening, sir.
As soon as when I run out of time, I'll stop going. I'll go to anybody's house.
Great, thank you.
Uh-oh.
I was going to ask him to come to my house. I'll give you a real challenge. John Hannon, 564 Jackson Avenue, Township. Last week I made a couple of comments and at the council meeting concerning the reserves and everything that we had, and also questioning about having a full-time CFO. And the other item that I mentioned was having a director of finance. While I understand we are looking for a CFO, there was no comment as to the director of finance. Part of the reason that I'm bringing this up, and it's not something that's new to me, I guess, well, as I call it, I'm mature. I spoke to Rudy Wenzel probably 30 years ago about this issue of having a director of finance. And part of the reason I bring it up is because municipal accounting, and this came out so clear last week, municipal accounting is not like regular accounting that all of us in this room are used to. You have to understand, and I'm not a municipal accountant, okay? You have to understand the rules, okay? A lot of the things that we talked about last week, or not we, but you talked about last week, dealt with what I would call the pots of gold that was sprinkled throughout the balance sheet, okay? There's a little pile here, there's a little pile there, it was $1 million here. We didn't talk about some of the honeypots or traps that are in those financial statements, right? And I don't have the current ones, and I guess tonight is the night you get the current ones. But I went back and looked at the December 2016 financial statements. One of the things, and this is something that I remember from a couple of years ago, one of the things that jumped out at me is that we have an accrued vacation and sick time liability. $2.7 million. Now, this is December of 2016. My gut feeling is that number probably is 5% higher. And where I get the 5% is that's what it went up the year before. All right? So you've got $2.7 million that's not on the books. Now, it's in the footnotes. But when you start to take a look at, and some of the questions that we got last week, and which I thought were very astute, in looking at how much surplus do we need? And I took a quick look on the internet today, and that is a very perplexing question. All right? There are a couple of articles basically saying because municipal accounting is so unique There isn't an answer to that, or nobody has come up with a formula for how much you should have. But when you take a look at the financial statements and the amount of surplus that we have, you also have to take a look at some of the things that municipal accounting does not require you to book. And if you've got $2.7 million, that you've got a liability that is probably going to come due, a gut feeling, in the next 5 years, okay, just because of longevity. If you've got that liability, when you're thinking about how much debt we're going to incur and items of that nature, you have to take that number into account. Now, that was a very easy item to see in the financial statements. There are a lot of other items that are probably there. And that's why I recommend that you do consider getting a director of finance, somebody that has experience in going through the financial statements that can advise you as to what the pitfalls in those financial statements are and what you need as we go forward with all of the improvements and everything else that we want to do. Okay, and the one comment that I think it was Councilman Ullman made last week is that before we take in all these reserves, let's put it down on paper. Let's see what it looks like. And you've got to do that because there are going to be pluses and minuses. And I think that's very important for not only the administration, but for the council.
Thank you.
In understanding where do we stand financially. Thank you.
Mr. Dizon?
Yes.
If I might. I applaud the gentleman for taking so much time looking at the financial statements. And it's interesting your comment about the accumulated leave footnote. I will tell you that in the preparation of the year-end financials for 2017, the auditors had asked for my input on that footnote. And I questioned the number. I said, where did this come from? It would have been carried forward from the prior audit reports. And the number is significantly less in the footnotes to this year's financial statements. The number is no longer the 2.7 million. I think you said it's 481,425. It was corrected, so there was an error in the prior years. That's a lot better for everyone, the taxpayers, and it's okay. And in fact, and a credit to the council, they've reserved more than that. So there's plenty reserved. There's no exposure for any of those absences, any payouts you read about in the record all the time. This council and prior councils have set aside that money.
Okay. A couple of years ago, somebody did retire, and my recollection was they were getting a significant payout. And there were 3 numbers that were advanced as to what this person should be getting. One number came from the individual, a number came from the treasurer, and the third number came from the accountants. You can't have 3 numbers. So what you're saying is you're cleaning things up.
Yes. Okay.
While you bring that up, also in last year's financial statements, there were only 4 people that are covered under the surety bond. Fidelity.
I think it's the people that are required by law.
Okay. Question: when I started looking at that, I sort of said, well, who handles the money? And again, I'm thinking internal control, all right? And since we have a part-time CFO, I would assume that the person that does most of that work is the assistant treasurer, and that they should be covered. When I also looked at Westwood's financial statements, in Westwood, and I have no idea why, the chief of police is covered on their surety bond. And then I also said, well, why isn't the mayor and the town administrator covered? You know, in a normal business setting, that's what you'd have. Now, maybe you're covered under another policy, whatever, but just for your information, and internal control and protection of the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, if I can just make a quick comment about the directors. I'd like to get a director, and you kind of hit the nail on the head, is when a lot of financial people here it's a municipality, they don't want to learn municipal accounting just for a director's salary that we pay. So I would love to get it filled. I've asked here from the dais multiple times. If anyone knows anyone, you know, send me resumes like that. I'd love to get it filled. And with that being said, I'm talking with someone who does have municipal experience who might be interested in the position.
Mary Ann Osmond, 960 Adams Place. Mr. Hannon said most of the things I wanted to say, but when you had your meeting last week, the CFO tax collector made a statement that you need a financial management team. Is the council have any say or could look into what type of people or what would the definition of their positions be, a management team, a financial management team? Because as was said in 2012, our CFO, actually she left, and we haven't had a full-time CFO since. So I was just wondering, is the council or is it just the mayor who has to decide who would be part of our financial management team? I thought that was a great statement made by the...
It was an excellent statement made. The mayor is in the process of hiring a full-time CFO. Correct. I think he's narrowed down the candidates to a short list.
Oh, I understand that, but that's not a team. That's
well,
one person.
Once the person is hired,
okay,
he or she will hopefully give us the input we need to put that team together and what employees may need to become full-time to assist to get the team we need in place, Mrs. Osmond.
Good.
Is that a fair statement, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, now, one other thing. Did the council put in money for an MKW type report? Did you put any money in the budget?
Yes, there is money in the Memorial Field budget to do that.
Okay, is it a full amount of money? Because the MK report that we have had...
The MK report was $12,500.
Right, it was nothing.
It was nothing, and
right.
The new report will be in the same realm. I've done many of these reports. So when we get the RFQ out, there is money in the Memorial Field budget to pay for it.
Okay, and can I ask, when will this happen, that you'll actually get money? I mean, do an RFQ for it now? Is it going to be done now?
Mr. Mayor, do you have a date in your head when you'd like to have this done?
I don't have a certain date in my head, and again, I'd like your input on it, Mike, so maybe sooner than later we can put our heads together with the administrator, come up with the parameters for the RFQP,
all right.
Whichever it needs
it's
to go.
been 6 months, and the only reason I'm saying this is, yes, Mr. Cumming, you have done a very nice job with what you have.
Thank you.
But when we stopped going forward with a larger plan, that wasn't a good idea, because we need to know where we need to put another field. We need to think about it. It's a long project. This is not something that we can keep waiting now. This is 6 months.
But I think the misconception is the new MKW report may tell us that we don't have enough fields in town to take care of all the youth groups we have and all the adult groups we have and rec and concerts. So we may get an answer that is going to be the same answer. You know, that we don't have the physical facility to build a new field anywhere, because, you know, if we did, it would have already been, you know, contemplated to build a field there.
Well,
so
I'm not sure.
We're going to have to think outside the box of
right.
utilizing other facilities, because the answer is going to be you're overutilizing the fields. I mean, that's
no.
We all know that.
We
don't need a study to tell us that.
But now
we
the
will have
fields
the
on Beach Street. I mean, there's empty land that we own on Beach Street. You know. I mean, I don't know.
The empty land on Beach Street is a mature 100-year-old forest. So we're going to cut down the mature forest at the end of Beach Street?
If it's something that's going to help this town on an overall basis for the next 50 years, yeah, if you have to. I mean, you know, open space, it's still open space. It's something for the residents of Washington Township.
I think to take a wetland area and convert it into fields is something that no amount of bond money is going to fund in our lifetime.
All right, then, Mr. Senator, what is your thoughts? We were trying to come up with other areas that could be used.
We need to utilize other fields, whether it may be an interlocal, a shared service agreement with the Board of Ed, and maybe going outside the town confines and merging with other areas to use fields somewhere else.
All right, but
we
then...
have to think outside the box.
But then
I think, you know, making statements of, you know, we own more land on the back of Cosman, and it's labeled on our tax maps as the swamp. We're not going to build a field down there, but we could probably build 10 fields down there if it wasn't a swamp.
But if people could look at it and tell us maybe it may be possible? I mean, not that field, but I'm saying the other areas could be used?
That's what the study will tell us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if we could...
But I think the answer is going to be that we don't have enough physical facilities in town to take care of our needs internally.
Okay, so that's a good idea, but let's get it done. If that's going to be our answer, and he's going to tell us straight out that we don't have the area, then I think we should do it right away. I mean, for us sitting here and it's another 6 months, and you know, by the time we do something of this nature and go out for information, it takes a long period of time. All right, when we were talking about...
I mean, Mrs. Osmond, no disrespect, but you know, this has been going on for 2 years.
Well, yeah, I know.
So
I know it has. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say it's been going on.
We're trying to get as many things done as possible.
Okay, and I realize that.
And I hear you.
And when you have 6, 8 years of things not being done,
I've lived here for
you want to just, you know, I've lived here 6 years. So I mean, you know, you're trying to push, and if we don't push the council, nothing else seems to be getting done. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's what's happening. Now I want to ask about the repaving. Is this the last section of streets being repaved in Washington Township, and it's finished? I mean, are these our last sets of...
Excuse me?
Well, that's what I don't know. It's been 5 years.
We paved streets last year.
No, I know that. But is this our last year of paving the streets?
No, absolutely not.
We haven't even
put a dent into the list of streets.
Well,
really?
We do about 8 to 10 streets a year, Marianne.
I mean, so by the time, I'm serious, by the time we're
finish,
finished, we're going to start all over again.
Absolutely. That's how every town handles it.
In a recent conversation with the engineer, he said we're about 60% done being 5 years into it.
I'm sorry, it's just that I was used to 3 or 4 years, we had all of our streets done. I'm sorry, I
But we also had a $20 million bond to do it.
Right, well, but
So
that bond was all gone now, right?
We're self-funding the paving through the municipal budget, so it's a big difference.
Oh, yes,
so,
no, there
So
is.
in 1995, when we paved every street in Washington Township, that last bond payment is due next year.
Right. No, it was done in a certain way.
So we've repaved streets that we bonded 20-something years ago.
We didn't pay for it yet.
And we haven't finished paying for them yet.
Okay. All right, it's just that, you know, I didn't think it was going to take this long a period of time to do all of the streets. I didn't realize.
In most municipalities.
For some reason, we were never told, I don't think the residents were actually told that it was going to take that long to do, we thought 3, 4, like, you know.
In most municipalities in Bergen County, when you finish the last street, you start the list over.
Okay.
That's just a general rule of thumb in municipal engineering.
All right.
If you're self-funding the program through your municipal budget and not bonding it for $20, $30 million like we did 25 years ago.
Okay. All right, thank you. Just asking.
Mike, just one comment about fields and finding space for them. We're going to talk later about the infrastructure study, but that's also something I'd like the infrastructure study person to look at. In addition to infrastructure, look at our land and see where we can use things. So, and that will happen sooner than later. I have an update on it for later.
Thank you.
And Mike, one thing I just want to tell Marianne, the MKW study was not to find new space or that study was just basically reconfiguring fields for different uses, not to find a land use study. Like we looked at Sherry Field. At that time, Sherry Field was only used for diamond-shaped sports. It wasn't used for rectangular sports like soccer, lacrosse, football. And that's why we had that study going on. Also, we looked at Gardner Field, which again was only used at the time or was configured for softball and baseball. So we decided to look at it and try and put a rectangular sport up there, football, lacrosse, soccer. And that's really what the main impetus of that study was. It wasn't for general land use or how to manage time on that field. As you add more programs, obviously, you don't have that much, much use. Maybe some towns have drawn back their amount of programs. They've declined in having younger ages participate in athletics. okay? And they've gone to outside sources, because as you lower the age or increase the number of participants, obviously field time becomes less and less for each of those divisions. So I just wanted to make sure you understood that that's what the scope of the NKW study was, and it only cost us $8,000.
Oh, there you go, it was above 500. But it was, you know, the MKW study also did not talk to the groups directly. So when this study, this RFQ goes out.
Yeah, it'll be far more reaching.
We will reach out to all the youth groups in town and make sure that they can accommodate changes in their uses of their fields, because, you know, there's a lot of assumptions made in the MKW study that can't be done, so. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Ordinances, adoption, second reading, none. Introduction, first reading, none. Individual resolutions, none. On the consent agenda, all the following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution 18-261, certification of year 2017 audit. Resolution 18-262, accepting bid and awarding contract for the 2018 road program to DNL paving contractors. Resolution 18-263, authorized refund of CCO inspection fees to St. Peter's Mar-Thoma Church of New Jersey in the amount of $140. Resolution 18-264, authorized refund of escrow balance, Block 3105, Lot 3, 759 Clinton Avenue in the amount of $447.50. Resolution 18-265, authorized refund of escrow deposit, Block 4420, Lot 46, 178 Calvin Street in the amount of $1,000. Resolution 18-266, authorized refund of escrow balance and performance bond deposit, Block 4313, Lot 2, 493 Mountain Avenue in the amount of $1,302.50. Can I ask that 18-262 be removed from the consent agenda and be brought up separately, please?
Okay. Can we, Mr. President, can we also pull 261 and maybe get an explanation on the audit from the auditor before we vote on that? Maybe pull
That's acceptable.
And then we can vote on
So,
the other ones?
can we have a motion to approve 263, 4, 5, and 6, and 61 and 62 will be acted on separately. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Mrs. Brennis, Mr. Mai, could you come up and present the 2017 audit, please?
Thank you for letting me come to tonight's meeting to answer any of your questions with respect to the 2017 audit. In addition to that, the administrator answered Mr. Hannon's question properly, that we recalculated the last year's adjustments, so we're all in agreement on the amount of money should have been $490,000 last year, and this year's number is 500 and change approximately. I just wanted to.
So it's not a liability at this point.
Well, no.
It is it's a covered liability.
Now it is for sure, but in New Jersey, you're actually way ahead of most people. In that regard, because your accumulated absence number is substantially lower than most. And you have it fully funded. Most places have some funding, but it's mostly the amount of money that they think they might spend within the next year or so. Whereas yours is 100% funded at this point.
Nice to hear that we're ahead of the curve on a good thing for.
Yeah, that's exactly. So I wanted to give credit where credit was due. And aside from that, as you can see, I know everybody's usually concerned about the last page with respect to comments and recommendations. And you can see that a lot of them, almost all of them actually, are resolved from last year. We're down to five comments. None of them are significant. I know the administrator is working on, we had a big discussion about fixed assets and the difficulty you have in governmental accounting with respect to fixed assets. There's a requirement that you, I go back a long way. In 1986, when they decided you had to keep track of fixed asset accounting, you were allowed to guess what the numbers were supposed to be for your fixed assets and or estimate the likely estimated cost is more the appropriate terminology, okay? And since most towns did that, some never did it at all. And the problem is there was a number and there's not a lot of time and ability to continue rolling those numbers together. Now you have your admin system and the administrator is making sure that the additions and the deletions are being put in there, but my predecessor had a set of records that they were here for such a long time prior to the point where the municipalities kept records, and so they had a set of records. And now the financial statements represent the additions and additions rolled forward from 3 years ago. But I know we've talked about it, and the administrator is working on with a plan to try and come up with some way that we can all be happy with the exact number.
Actually, the new CFO will be doing that, as that is their responsibility, but well, I've been handling it in the interim.
I couldn't talk to them yet. So,
yeah. Okay.
So, excuse me, so is there a financial risk to the township at this point? Is this a bookkeeping exercise, or is there real financial?
No, it's a bookkeeping risk because we actually went and we talked about the fact that you wanted to make sure you had all your things insured and that you didn't have things that you were insuring that you didn't own anymore. Okay. That is taken care of. Okay. Okay. That part is taken care of. That's the biggest risk, I guess. Small risk. I guess the other risk is you wouldn't know that you have property, but your tax assessment records reflect the real property that you own, and your vehicle insurance records reflect all of your rolling stock, for lack of a better word, and that stuff is all insured. Okay. Okay, and your buildings are, again, insured. So it's those other little things. I mean, and I say little things, but I mean
not a building.
Yeah, not a building, and not a fire truck, and
if I might, I mean, just looking, I think it is the little things, and it had to do with the difference in capitalization policy. There's some small items on there that are lower than our capitalization policy, and I think there was a change in the amount way back when. So.
Yeah, the state changed the capitalization policy. Everybody used to capitalize whatever they wanted. And most places probably had it like at $2,000 for the longest time. Some places had it even lower. Then the state said 5,000 is the magic number. You can't, it's hard to get off your books.
Right.
It's hard to get off your books, and that's the process that the new CFO will be undertaking. So, but anyway, so that's the biggest item. The payroll deficit is going to be resolved, and be actually a payroll deficit really is going to. I think it will be funded, but from the current fund, there was only like $7,900. It was relatively a very small number. The one thing that we raised with respect to the building department, and I think this has already been corrected, and this is not an unusual circumstance in most towns. We have this problem when we notice it. You know, it's like you have to observe something, and sometimes you observe it and sometimes you don't. and that's the fact that your construction companies, they do so much business with the town, they usually just leave a check signed and say, when we get the permit, when you figure out what the permit is, just fill in the amount, and because they know it's going to be in the ballpark of a certain number. And the problem is when they come in to get their application for the construction, the state has to make a calculation of what the amount is to a great many times. So that's the reason why they just do that, and then it expedites your citizens' construction projects and so on and so forth. Otherwise, would take the construction person would have to come back in again. The problem was there were checks signed by the vendors that we noticed, made out to the town, not by the vendors, by the construction companies or the applicant. And then there was one where it was just signed and not even made out to the township, which we thought was particularly bad.
Yes.
So, but there were only a few, and we happened to notice them this year, and hopefully, I'm pretty sure the mayor was pretty much on their case with the administrator to try and resolve that.
I've already spoken to them. Can I ask you a question? Would it be okay for them to put in the notation not to exceed and put an amount like the next $100 mark?
I've seen that with respect to the insurance companies when they're trying to get police reports. they do that on theirs. That would be a way to control your potential liability, I guess. You know, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm just worried about something like that happening.
Somebody cashing that check on their own.
Yeah.
I mean,
it seemed like the 5 items you described could be corrected very quickly and easily.
Well, yeah.
Well, number item 5, the municipal court has already been resolved.
Oh, good.
I met with her last week.
Yeah, last week.
On Monday, and it was resolved.
Oh, good, because Linda came and saw me today, and I didn't realize that. She wasn't aware that was resolved, so that's good.
Yes.
Okay, good, good.
Oh, yeah, because when I came in last Monday's meeting, I stopped and talked to her, and she said, oh, yeah, Colin was here.
Okay.
And she took care of it, and so that one's resolved.
So we're down to 4.
Well, yes. Hopefully next year you'll be down to none, or 1. You know? Yeah. That's a goal, right? So anyhow, aside from that, the one statistics we put in on like page 93, not that I don't know if you'll have anything. We just put in the percentage utilized of surplus, and I know this year you used the 2.1 million. That was a respectable amount of money, which is 41%. But over the last 5 years, there were 3 times that you used in excess of 41% of your surplus. So I just point that out because I know there was a question about how much to use, and you got plenty of answers. You can pick your choice. And aside from that, I'd be happy to answer any questions with respect to the financial statements you might have.
I have no questions.
I reviewed it, and thank you.
In the write-up at the beginning, you discuss exclusions to the audit, and one of them is LoSAP, that it's not audited. I guess my question is, we have a volunteer fire department and a volunteer ambulance corps, and we rely on them to provide us with their credits. And based on their certification, we fund those balances.
Yes.
From a audit perspective, although you haven't audited, what would be the scope of an audit of LoSAP? Would you be auditing the certification aspect, the trust aspect?
Well, I can tell you what we did.
Okay.
For LoSAP, I looked at myself. I looked at the procedures, I looked at the authorizations, I looked at the publication, I looked at the posting, I didn't look at the posting, but I saw the official posting, and I saw that the money was paid into the LoSAP fund.
Okay.
Within the time frame that was supposed to be paid, which is basically all you need to do, okay? And matter of fact, this year, we're gonna issue a 2-year report for 16 and 17, with basically saying, it's almost like it's sort of an agreed upon procedures report. Yeah, we're doing this, this, and this, and we have reviewed this, this, and this, and we didn't find any variances from what the plan was. That's basically what we expect to be doing this year. Matter of fact, Colin will probably be working on it this summer.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, but anyhow, the state said you can't put that in here, and that's what was the state's rule.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings, anything?
No, everything answered. Thank
Do I
you.
have a motion to pass Resolution 18-261, certification of year 2017 audit?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Pacino?
Yes.
Thanks, Lou.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Resolution 18-262, accepting bid and awarding contract for the 2018 road program to D&L Paving Contractors, Inc. My question is what's that? Do we have to motion it first?
I'll make motion.
Motion.
Discussion.
Second.
It's a motion to pass it with any discussion.
Yes.
Okay, pass it.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman? No, you gotta discuss.
No.
Wait, what am I
Have a
doing?
motion, a second, and then have a discussion.
Roll call.
Where were we?
Discuss.
We're passing a bid to D&L Pavers for $509,969,000. We budgeted $700,000 for road paving. Are we planning on going out to bid again? I hope Mr. Azzolino's soft costs don't add up to $200,000. So.
I believe if, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, you can add on up to 20% of the contract for change orders?
I believe that's correct.
If it's an emergency.
Didn't we
I
have?
don't believe it has to be an emergency.
We had this problem. Didn't we have this problem last year where?
Change orders, I don't know, but you're talking about more roads as opposed to change orders on the work that's.
Well, if we're going to award this tonight for 509. Let's call it 550, which leaves another $150,000 of roads we can pave in 2018. We can get, if we declare it an emergency and we spend the extra 20%, that we can get about $100,000 worth of additional roads. Still leaves like $50,000 in the pot. So would it be fair to say that we're going to have to go out for another contract to do $150,000 worth of work?
Well, I think you can do the change order up to 100, whatever the change is. But on top of that, Mr. Azzolino purposely is going out to bid on the other projects separately, so I guess you could always add those in. When I say the other projects, I'm talking about Woodfield and anything as a DOT grant. I think he intended to do that because they're separate requirements.
Yeah, but those are fully funded grants from the DOT, right?
Correct, but you could still bid other work with a DOT grant if that's what you choose to do, because.
But if we're paving Woodfield and we're going to go tell them to pave, Jackson on the other side, I don't think you're getting Jackson paved. I'm just using that as a street name.
Well, the point being, you can do another 20% on those contracts as well. In the prior years, we didn't have this because we did all the roads all as one bid. So this was just something.
Yeah, but this has been going. I've seen this every year. The council has put aside X amount of dollars, and we never fully spend it because we end up with a low bid like this.
Well, no, last year, I believe, we did one change order, and then we wanted to do a second one, and if my recollection is correct, we couldn't because it exceeded the 20% or.
Well, last year I had come up with the idea that Mr. Pollard said was okay, so we didn't have to do a second resolution and stall the process. In the initial award of contract, there was a provision in there pre-authorizing a change order of up to 20%. So then there was the process of adding the roads. I can't remember how much was spent relative to the award, but it was pretty close. I don't know what.
Do we have that contingency in this one?
No, but it's still there, even though it's not in the resolution. You could still do it at any time.
I guess my question is, if we know we've approved 700K, I mean, I can't imagine that the costs are that unknown that we wind up with 500,000, because everyone is within, you know, from 509 to,
absolutely,
you know, the high, well, there's a couple of two high ones, but I guess my question is,
between 509 and 521 is the three low bidders. I mean, it's,
I mean, shouldn't we have asked for more at that point?
That's a question for Mr. Azzalina.
Well,
we defer to his judgment on
I mean, he's not here, so I can't, so it's a rhetorical question, but it, you know, this is not like missing, there's a significant percent. So I guess with the emergency change order, with whatever we want to call it.
It only gives us $100,000, so we still leave $50,000 in the kitty.
And I don't think it has to be an emergency.
Isn't that what you're trying to say about going after the second bids, that we get another 20% on the DOT?
Yeah, so we could easily spend that $50,000 if Mr. Azzalina is inclined to include extra roads on a DOT bid, which he can do.
Right.
But that's all a matter of how he wants to handle it.
I'll certainly reach out to him and get answers in the next day or two.
I have no objection passing this tonight, but I want a quick response of how we're going to spend this money, because we're just going to get into October, November, and I mean, like, we need to go out to bid, like, as soon as we get an ad in the newspaper. We should go out to bid for the remainder amount of money we have available.
Well, what we're going to have is, we're going to have $150,000 left over, and in 20 years, someone's going to be sitting on this dais saying, where do we get the 150,000? Oh, there's a street that needs repair, let's go get it. And we'll bond it 20 years later, and we're going to be reliving. It's like Groundhog Day.
Yep.
So
we need to spend it now.
So we either,
right?
Yeah, I mean, or cancel it. Cancel part of the.
It's part of our budget. It can't be canceled. We already put it into our 2018 budget. We appropriated $700,000 for road grade replacement.
Yeah, but that's being bonded.
You could strike
No,
it from
that's
the
in our
bond
budget.
anticipation notes. It's not that it's budgeted if you haven't financed it. It's okay if it's in your budget if you haven't financed it, but you are financing the whole thing. I think
the mayor just made a statement. He just made a statement. We're behind the 8 ball on it anyway, so we have to find a way to spend it. We need more streets paved.
So we'll talk to, the mayor and I will talk to Mr. Azzalina and say you have 20%, this is the amount you can do by change order without, you know, within the confines of the law, find the roads. And then by the next meeting, you can have a resolution for a change order. Ken, is that fair?
Sounds right.
Okay.
And you got 3 weeks till the next meeting.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop them from, I mean, they've got to get the contract in order, so there are things like that. You know, it shouldn't hold things up. They can start the initial project, and we can talk about the roads after that.
Is D&L the service, the contractor who did Mountain Ave?
No.
No.
Okay.
2016 and 2017, they were, 2015 and 2016, they paved the roads.
Okay.
Have we gotten anywhere with Mountain Avenue?
You were supposed to get to me about the complaints about Mountain Avenue, weren't you?
I was supposed to get it?
I thought you were going to send me.
I think that's how we left it.
Left it where you were going to.
I will call you first thing tomorrow morning, Mr. Pollard. Okay. I didn't know it was in my court.
Yes.
I didn't know it was my, okay. Can I send you a bill, Mr. Mayor? No.
I can't see. Can you?
Can I have a motion to accept Resolution 18-262, accepting bid and awarding contract for the 2018 road program to D&L paving contractors? Oh, we had a motion.
Had a motion. Now we're doing a roll.
Before we do that?
Oh, yes, Mr.
Traffic control, line item 1. What, do we know what that entails?
I don't, Ken, do you have any idea?
I mean, just, I didn't take a quick look at, but it might be police time to close roads.
Typically, we don't run the police, I mean, in the 2 other years I did this, we didn't run the police through that, through the contract. It could
'Cause you
be a
can't.
matter of the signs. I
Yes.
don't know what, I'm not
It's
looking
for
at the
honor,
detail.
it's on or about signs, road closed, road construction ahead, raised manholes, all that kind of stuff, Mr. Ullman. Cones, drums during the closure of the roads and so
Yeah.
forth.
A lot of safety signs, safety related.
It's a little guy with the sign that says slow, you can stop.
No, it is not. That's a traffic director flagger.
Come on,
Okay.
I'll do that job.
All right, thank you.
How much do you pay?
Anything else?
No.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Adjournment to conference agenda, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. The next regular scheduled meeting of the Township Council will be on Monday, August 6, 2018, beginning at 7:30 p.m. 2 quick announcements. Storage containers, as per Town Code Chapter 173, Section 16.1. Construction and building projects are in full swing. Just a few reminders. If you have a valid construction or demolition permit in effect, a temporary storage structure permit within a non-commercial zone by obtaining a permit from the building department. Application for permit will assess the necessity and location of storage unit. Application fee of $25. Once issued, a permit fee of $125 for a period of 120 days. If additional time is required, 1-month extensions may be issued by the building department. So if you're putting a pod in or any kind of construction trailer, you need to speak to the building department and apply for a storage container permit. I have another PSA number 2 to read. Our contaminated recyclings are becoming a larger issue for the company that processes them. The issue is mostly the placing of recyclings in plastic bags. Therefore, starting last week and for the next few Fridays, the DMF employees will be driving around and placing stickers on any recycling that does not meet the town requirements, and they will not be picked up by the hauler. Please visit the town website for further information.
Mr. DeSena, may I just
Yes,
add? Because
Mrs. Groh.
we had further information today. I think our contamination results from Friday were slightly less because of the refusal to take bags, but we were cited for, there were cardboard boxes. Pictures are sent to me of cardboard boxes mixed with the commingled plastic bottles and cans. Cannot happen. Food contamination and styrofoam is not allowed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The summer concert series continues. Friday, July 20th, the B Street Band will be performing at 7 p.m. at Memorial Field. And the Township Shredding event is scheduled for July 21st at its new location. The event will be held at Westwood High School, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for all those that need Township shredding. Thank you. Moving on to conference agenda. It's not a different color.
I had handed out a project tracker at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes.
Since I was on vacation from basically last meeting till this Friday, so I wanted to get as much updated on it today as possible.
Does anybody have any questions on the project tracker, gentlemen?
Yes. So last Monday, we had quite a, I thought, an informative session with the auditor, the accountant, CFO, the bonding attorney. And one thing that, to me, that came out of that is there is more work to be done with many of the accounts that we looked at, either identifying them and tracking their balances to understanding what's in them and determining if it can be used in general or if they're earmarked for a particular project or function surrounding the trust accounts. And I guess my question is, how do we plan on tracking that? Because if we don't do it, if we don't get in front of it, we're going to wind up having these discussions again and again. So what is the best way? I know we're pursuing a CFO, but you know, that documentation can be put together now, at least started. I know Mary Ann had done a lot of work last year and the year before with the ordinances, those that were canceled, some that were not. But again, is there someone identified to begin to track this information?
Let me say, I don't believe there is someone right now
Okay.
Who can. I'll have a CFO update for you shortly. You know, some of it is administration, some of it is council, so we'll need to work together with a point person, in my opinion, who can direct us. I would think logically that's the CFO, and you know, hopefully my update will provide good information about the position.
That being said, if I might add, Ashley has been very good with offering to do cleanup, whatever she can before she leaves. She's made the statement that, you know, she wants to leave the desk the way she would want to find it. So if there are things that if you want to suggest, I was not here, I can watch the meeting with the mayor, a priority of items, Mr. Mayor, if I might be so bold as to suggest, you know, we could work with her and see
Sure.
what's feasible. She has other things that she may already have on her desk that none of us are aware of. But it doesn't hurt to ask, you know, because she has expressed that. She did start an exercise with canceling grants receivable, and I raised some questions. I don't want to wait. I don't want to forfeit any of this money. But again, it's part of it is because of what's happened in the township with so many CFOs and so many administrators that you lose the train of, you know, the momentum.
In terms of, because we spent quite a bit of time on ordinances that are drawn, that are not drawn, that are funded, that are not funded, canceled, not canceled. Do you have a record that you started of each of the ordinances in terms of having the actual ordinance, having the, perhaps the subledger from Edmunds to support whatever has been used for that ordinance?
I started that last year, like you said. I've updated it with updated newer ordinances that come in. I have not printed out updated ledgers. As you know, the activity continues. Sometimes there's situations where you're saying there's pockets of the money. It's actually worked out to our benefit when we've had some of these money from old road programs, because it has enabled us to do some of the funding for some of these grant projects like the sidewalk of Memorial. But I can certainly work with, well, we're down staff, but you know, I can try to work with Ashley to try to get that shored up, because I had flagged things that I said, knowing what I knew the town was planning to do, cancel or whatever have you. So I can work with her on that.
Yeah,
that's the first order.
I mean, clearly the administration has to run and do its, you know, it is the day-to-day operations of the town, the running of the town, that's part of the administration, obviously. I mean, one thing I would like personally is just that, you know, what are these ordinances? What are the balances? So when we do have these discussions, because we are going to have discussions at some point in terms of canceling, in terms of excess funds, what are we doing? So, you know, without putting the burden on you, it is something I would like to see. The trust funds, there was probably 20 trust funds. Some of them have a couple of $100, some of them have significant dollars. You know, having each one identified, possibly a write-up to support it. I mean, to me, that's the type of thing that we should be looking to put together as we address this. So the police, for instance, they have a a police donation fund. You know, what is that? Who can access it? What can it be used for?
I asked those questions. I'm not allowed to touch it. It's only the police, but no,
So,
I know you're saying.
You know, and then we can make an educated, we can make some educated decisions on how to deal with some of these funds.
I think having the financial statements prepared, that's a good first step, because those balances have been proved. So, you know, we could start from there and just roll them forward for whatever's happened in 2018. But I understand you also want to understand what's in it. I've asked some of the same questions.
Yeah,
I think there's money in clean communities that needs to be swept. I think what happened in the past was, what I've seen is, because I came in, I was getting done for reports that related to 2014. And I cleaned them up, and I said, but it's sitting there, it wasn't charged at the time it was spent. Doesn't mean you can't allocate it to the grant, just have to do the work to get it there.
Okay.
So I'll talk to Peter and we'll talk to Ashley about some things that maybe she might be able to do before there's a changeover.
Fine.
Anything else, Mr. Allman, before you start? On the project tracker on the new vehicles, we had a Class 7, Class 2. I know we had asked if we could review, Mr. Lawler, whether we could buy a chipper and a truck that would accommodate the chipper with those funds, and I guess now we're planning on purchasing them. Without any update on that, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Lawler and I went over to Emerson this past week, met with their DMF superintendent, wide-ranging discussion. Some of this came up. I forget, well, it's not the pickup, so I'm going to say the dump truck. I believe they can put something on the dump body to make it a chipper type, you know, vehicle, if you will. And we spoke to Emerson about a chipper in general. They've had theirs a while, so they didn't remember what they paid for it. But I've instructed Bill to start to go out and get pricing. You know, we asked about training, safety training. He said there's an annual thing that I think the JIF runs.
Yes.
That, you know, he sends his people to. You know, it's a half-a-day class, I believe. So we're researching the chipper.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The senior van, I know we had brought this up last month, and we had talked about the Green Team and their initiative to get us an electric van. We're deflecting again. I haven't seen any proposals for our new senior van. We're into July. I understand. I know you brought up that the Green Team is looking and getting one donated from PSE&G. We haven't received anything from them either. But I think, you know, as all of us sitting on the dais, we've made a commitment to buy a new senior van. We're in July, and we haven't even gotten an idea of what we want to even look at. So I think we need to progress that a little bit.
That's correct, and you know, enough time has gone by, and I don't see us going to an electric one. I think that's for bigger cities, to be honest with you, and like that. I don't know that we want one electric vehicle in our fleet.
Okay.
You know, just doesn't make sense. I don't think if we were buying even 5 or something, then it might. But to have one electric, and so we have some quotes from last year that we're going to see if they will bring them current and go from there.
And you'll present those to us?
Of course.
I just
Yes,
have
Mr.
one other one. Only because I think it somehow reappeared, but maybe it didn't. The hose in the fire hose.
It never left. It then reappeared.
It came over here when it was brought over here without anybody asking for it.
It moved.
It has moved recently? Because
well, depends what your definition of recently is.
So I guess I know we needed to find a value
I haven't
to
gotten
determine how we can dispose of it.
Yeah, I have to work with the fire department on that. I do have some documents I'll look at. I think we're going to end up putting it on Gov Deals.
Okay. Okay. I mean,
I'll make a note.
I don't know what the going price is, but you know, and what its true value is, but if there are municipalities that can use it,
we can
donate it. You know, not everyone has the luxury of disposing of what appears to be good hoses, just because they're at the end of their regulatory life. So they may have some life left, and there may be other towns that are not as fortunate as us.
Correct.
So if we can make that determination one way or the other.
The radio system upgrade analysis.
Yeah, I met with both chiefs a couple of weeks ago, police and fire. They have started on it. They're talking to a few different vendors to see who is best equipped for the study. So it has.
Well, it's going to have to be advertised. So I mean, we really need to start putting together RFP for it, because right, maybe we can't spend $50,000 on a study without it going out for public bid, correct?
You're right, as far as I know.
So I don't know what we're waiting for on that one. Next thing I have is the playground mulch looks beautiful, Mr. Mayor. I've received, since Saturday morning till today, I've received nothing but good praises that we finally did it.
Good.
Thank you, council, for getting it done, and Mr. Mayor for authorizing and getting it done. The other thing I have is the grant writer. The proposals were received. It's been on the project tracker for a while now, and the ranking to be done has been there for a while. So I was just curious when we were going to get to getting a grant writer.
The mayor and I each have to rank them. They came in right before the last council meeting. We didn't get to it before then, and I was on vacation. So
okay.
I left them on the. I left.
You think we'll have them on the next meeting?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to answer for you.
I don't know the process, so I didn't want to say it. If you know the process.
We have to rank them, and I have to prepare a report. Okay. So they have to get the report.
Okay. And on the resignation that's listed on the project tracker of our recreation superintendent, it's sad to hear.
Just today.
She was sold as a very competent person. Can we maybe, during her exit interview, find out the reasons for her resignation so abruptly? And is it because she's not getting enough hours? Are we overworking? Is it a job that requires a full-time person? We seem to have a lot of resignations, and we need, we got to figure out what's causing this. Is it because it's only 8 hours and she needs 24 hours or 40 hours?
It's quite the opposite. She has another job, so she just couldn't devote the time she needed to the position. But I will be having an exit interview to see what the position entails. I've already have an idea for someone for that position. Not that I'm not happy to see.
Before we proceed with that, can we maybe, with the council, sit down and see if there's things we could realign in the offices to possibly give the opportunity to some of the employees that were being kept at part-time to absorb some of these responsibilities of these people resigning and becoming either obtaining more hours or becoming full-time before we advertise and lose more people, because...
Yeah, I think I said that in our last regularly scheduled meeting, is it's time for us to consider full-timers who wear multiple hats than part-timers.
The mayor and I had that discussion earlier today.
Right.
Thank you. That's all I have on the project tracker, gentlemen. Anything else, Mr. Cumming? Mr. Cassio?
The only thing was the surface for the basketball court. I haven't had a chance to talk to Paul about this week and see if we can get on with the surface that we can agree on.
On the project tracker, on the last page.
Yes.
The AC condensers, number 6.
Yes.
Do I understand that we're locked into the contractor? Because this has to do with our bid from public service, our audits.
We were past the time where we could cancel without a fee, correct, Marianne? And
yes.
Then the cancellation fee is quite healthy, where it doesn't pay to cancel at this point. We'd be paying for almost half the project and not getting anything.
And on a most recent note, I noticed a leak from the 3rd floor into the 2nd floor just late this afternoon. It seems to have been resolved, but it's been having problems, and I don't know that we can wait any longer to address the issue on the 3rd floor.
Well, I was in there for a meeting and for an hour, and it was over 80 degrees.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably bad. Well, how soon is the contractor going to come and put the compressors then in?
They've been ordered, so that was before I left on July 2nd.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I mean. It was before you left.
Yeah, I don't know, I'll ask Mr. Lawler to follow up.
If he's going to charge us half the price for these things and hold a knife to our throats, I think we ought to get the compressors bloody fast.
Anything else on the project tracker, gentlemen? I'm good. Firehouse progress report, Mr. Mayor?
Yes. When I had gotten the okay from the ambulance corps, I'll call it now preliminary okay, I had asked the architects to go ahead and start cost estimates. In light of the ambulance asking for more time, what I've asked the architects to do is prepare cost estimates for both so we can get started analyzing both, and then depending on which way it goes, but we'll have the numbers, ahead of time to work with.
Can we have those a week before our August 6th meeting?
I think you can have them within the next day or two, is what they indicated to me.
Thank you. The CFO update?
Yeah, pretty much. We spoke about it. One of the candidates is on vacation. He was on last week and this week. We'll be back Monday. So I'd like to schedule interviews with the people that we put on the short list for next week and hopefully have a decision by the end of next week.
Thank you. The infrastructure study follow-up. I know we received the DMF study.
Yeah, if I can just switch order quickly, talk about the DMF first. And as you said, we received that, and it was some back and forth with me and Mr. Sarlo about what to put in it. So he just got the final version to me on Friday, and we said this week then we will work on the infrastructure study.
Okay. Gentlemen, have you had time to read the DMF facility study? Do you have any objection to it?
I don't.
So I guess we will be proceeding with that, Mr. Mayor?
If the council blesses the contract?
I'm in favor of it. Is everybody in favor?
It's only $2,500.
It's $2,500.
It's a bargain.
Yes, I thought so.
Mr. Cumming, you okay?
I'm
Mr.
good
Ullman?
with it.
Okay, I will sign it tomorrow.
Mr. Ullman?
Yes.
I have a yes from
So the infrastructure study will be following up on?
Yeah,
You'll have that to us?
Yeah, and I'll send it for you guys to look at as soon as I have it, like I did the DMF.
Thank you. Police traffic study in our packets, gentlemen. Chief Hooper has given us a clarification on the previously prepared Captain Hackbarth report, requesting that the speed limit on East Glen be reduced from 35 to 25. He and Sergeant Glock have taken acceptance of Mr. Hackbarth's 5 years of studying and agreed that we should ask the county to reduce the speed limit on East Glen Avenue to 25 miles an hour, so it is consistent with the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit that is on the Village of Ridgewood portion of East Glen Avenue.
I personally don't agree with the study. I think it should remain at 35 miles an hour because you're going to have people slowing down to 25 and they're going to have trouble getting up that hill. It's, I don't know if Captain Hackbarth is an AR, but I don't see 35 miles an hour to ascend that hill as being an excessive speed. Coming down, I do agree, and it's marked appropriately, so I really don't agree with the assessment, but that's just my opinion.
Mr. Cumming, Mr. Ullman?
I drive that a lot. Back and forth over to almost every other night. And it doesn't seem realistic to me. I concur with Dr. Cassier.
You don't think reducing it to 25?
I don't think reducing it to 25 would be sensible or practical, and I don't think it'll be observed by most of the residents.
I agree. You might reduce it in signage, but I think people are still going to accelerate to get up that steep incline.
Mr. Altman?
I mean, I think it just brings consistency to the public roads in town. Van Emberg, I think, is 25, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Pascack, I know is, I think, 40 at points. You know, the thing that I would say is the Ridgewood portion of the road drops down to 25, and, you know, there's a speed trap at the bottom of that hill on a regular basis. So if it brings consistency between the two towns, I mean, you know, enforcement will be up to the police department. So I really don't have a problem lowering it to 25.
I agree with Dr. Cassio and Mr. Cumming that I think, you know, we could lower it, put a sign up for 25, but I don't think it's going to be observed very well in that situation, especially going up the hill. So I think maybe we need to spend some more time reviewing this before we ask the county to reduce it. Is that okay with you, gentlemen?
Well, how would you want to review it?
I'd like to have Sergeant Glock maybe monitor it with the speed trailer and see what the actual speeds are. You know.
Okay. I mean, there are accidents on that area, but I think most of those accidents occur because they're descending as opposed to ascending, you know, at a rapid rate. You know, people don't slow down. That's a small curve, but it's a significant curve. And if you're not paying attention, even going at 20 miles an hour, you can find yourself in a predicament. And I don't think it's the problem with the people ascending. I think it's the problem descending on that hill.
Well, maybe we could have Sergeant Glock set up the trailer in a manner where we can get both speed tables on both directions.
Okay. Sure.
Is that all right with everybody, gentlemen?
Good idea.
All right.
We have the tool, let's use it.
Sure. Mr. Merrick, we ask Mr. Sergeant Glock to review that?
I will ask him through the chief, yes.
We have vacant abandoned property registration. We received a bunch of ordinances in our packet for review. It's something I think we need to adopt, not tonight. But I think, Mr. Mayor, if we could have Mr. Poller start reviewing these sample ordinances to possibly prepare an ordinance for a township for vacant abandoned property registration. I know we recently had a bunch of issues and we were able to resolve them with our new property maintenance officer, and he's been very diligent in getting out there and doing his job. So I think he needs some more tools, and I think these sample ordinances we were given will give him the tools, you know, more tools that he could.
What are we trying to regulate?
There's zombie houses in town, not a lot of them, that aren't being maintained. Developers that are in the process of going bankrupt or are bankrupt, and they're not maintaining their lawns. You know, we just had an issue 2 weeks ago. You know, the woman was looking at, you know, 3-foot high grass, a porta-john for 4 years. The house is in disrepair. You know, right in front of her house. You know, roof is ripped off. You know, it's not sided. It's got Tyvek paper for 4 years, and you know, we need to start, you know, either making the banks that own them, that are foreclosed on them, do the work to them, and at least make it, you know, look like it's not a zombie house. Or
even a better example was that 741 Wayne Place.
Yep.
Because the bank was foreclosing, and we had a devil of a time trying to serve people to get things done. People were moving in. This would require the banks to register and to be responsible. And you'd have somebody to serve who's local. So I do think it's a good idea. I do want to take a look at, and Sue did a nice job.
Sue did a great job, I think, putting all of them together for you, but I think you need to...
I was going to say, I wanted to look at a few other things before I...
there may be others that you find in your legal expertise, but Sue, I think, did a great job finding all these for us.
Yep. We hear the complaints.
Well, she's getting all the complaints, yes.
A lot of complaints.
So I think it's something, gentlemen, that we really need to get on the books and start moving along.
So we're going to ask Kent to hybrid this into an
Well,
ordinance and look it over?
I'm gonna look at some other things and,
Okay.
get something
Put
worked
something
up.
together?
Yeah, because I mean, the Wade Place one is a perfect example.
That's perfect.
If you had this ordinance, we would have been able to serve the bank with the, you had to register this house, and now
Right.
we're going to hire somebody and
Right.
bill you for it because you're letting it go.
Can I add one quick comment? There is one house that Cornelia has been very diligent on the last week and a half, has called the real estate, the sign called the real estate agent who said, what, am I supposed to maintain all the properties? Present company excluded. And she got very insulted because Cornelia says, yes, your property sign is there and we have to look at it, neighbors have to look at it. So she was very diligent back and forth, and we came to find it was supposed to close last week. I haven't heard a confirmation though yet. But you know, it's something that it takes a lot of time and effort, and we're trying to do the right thing, but registering, knowing exactly who to contact that will do the work and not blow it off would be real big assistance for property maintenance.
Ms. Sue, do you all get in your office as the clerk? Don't you get those bank foreclosure notices?
We get some, but they're not as many as what I would expect, to be honest with you.
Compared with the complaints?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I will tell you.
Because I kept a file, notebook of those.
And they usually
But that was a different town. With a
Well-
lot more tax-paying properties.
But we've run across about 4 homes that have been disarray for one reason or the other, and that's just to start and.
I mean, the one on Hickory, it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been zero activity there for 4 years until the new code officer, property manager, he got things cleaned up in a week, which I give him a lot of praise for doing that.
That's good.
Yep,
That's
he's done
good.
a
I
good
hope
job.
he keeps that up. That's wonderful.
Yep, so thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Pollard, do we know where we sit on the codification?
Yes, I will have the last edits to general code by the end of the month. I have a couple of items out to the health department that I'm waiting. I'm going to meet with Angela Masella and go over some edits that she has on a couple things, and I'm doing something with Gary Vinci just on some wording on another section. So by the end of the month, I'm going to have the final questions answered that they were looking to get answered.
Okay, and then what is our date from there?
And then I don't think too long. I think within a couple of months thereafter.
Maybe by August, late August, early September?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, gentlemen?
Just Sue included a letter in the from the Community Life, a letter to the editor about Washington and Van Emberg.
Yes.
Living a couple of 100 feet from it. I would have to say that it is, you are taking your life in your hands, traversing it. A lot of people don't understand that flashing yellow means proceed with caution, and they stop, which the other side stops, and all of a sudden you have 4 cars then trying to start again. I know this has been raised previously, and at the time, was it Sergeant Hackworth? Captain, just demoted him. Felt it wasn't, there was nothing that could be done. When I look at this compared to East Glen, I think this is 100 times more dangerous.
But I think the police department, with the addition of the flashing stop signs, have said that incidents there have been reduced. Have they not? Or, I mean, you live there, Mike, so do you think they've made an effect, those flashing stop signs?
Well, I think the flashing stop sign, I think the issue is that the stop signs help for those that are traversing Van Emberg. The issue really is the flashing yellow coming down the hill and coming up from the parkway, in that people really don't know how to drive, which is not something you can legislate.
Correct.
But people continually stop with the flashing yellow, and it creates a dangerous situation. You know, if it's improved, it's great. I don't know if it's been eliminated. I don't know if, you know, a new set of eyes might have a different view of it. So, I mean, I'm just bringing it up as it was included.
Yeah, we issued this because I know when I brought it up 2 meetings ago, people hadn't read it, or the meeting ago, people hadn't read it. And,
so, I mean, I believe it continues to be danger. Whether
so
it's
maybe
a
we
lesson.
can ask the county to look into it again.
I can add more into this if you want. Peter?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said,
got some of
Sue.
the emails, right? You had some of the emails from the county about this last week or no?
No, I don't think so. No.
Somehow I ended up getting an email from the county, from Mr. Connolly, and he'd mentioned that this gentleman was inquiring, and he sent out a crew who said there was some blockages on some of the lights and some of the signage, and the gentleman came back saying, I'm not asking about lights and signages. He goes, I'm looking for a traffic light. He said he would send it down to the engineer, but he said he was doubtful it would come through, but he said he would send it down. I also asked Joe to go out and take a look to see if there's property maintenance that could have been possibly done, and he spoke with one of the corner, I'm assuming it's the southwest corner property, that he spoke with the owner, and the owner is more than willing to meet with him this week to see what needs to be trimmed back to help out. He would be more than happy to trim back again. So he's going to meet with Sergeant Glock out there to see what they could do, but it's not going to resolve exactly, but hopefully it'll help maybe a little bit, I don't know.
Okay.
So, but he did mention Mr. Connolly about the traffic lights, the blinking lights, and things have been done, but.
Okay.
And Mike, also, I'll bring it up in my sign meeting later this week. If we're reviewing signs, we'll see if there's any signs that, you know, say proceed with caution to remind people, and we'll try and get the county to pay for it if we see signs exist like that.
Maybe yellow is not red.
Right.
Yellow is the new red?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wellman. Resolution number 18-267, closed session, personnel, litigation, property acquisition. Do I have a motion to enter into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming, sorry.
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. We take a quick break while Ricky comes down
Please.
and
Yes.